It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here are your hosts, Matt Peck and Big Dave Watson.
What's up, and welcome into Locked On Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Matt Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck. You can follow my co-host Big Dave Watson at BAWL, B-A-W-L Sports. You can follow us at Locked On Bulls. You can also shoot us an email, lockedonbulls@gmail.com. And, of course, that text and voicemail line's always there for you, our fellow Bulls fans. 331-979-1369 is that number. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Michelob Ultra. At only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories, it's only worth it if you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the Ultra Player of the Week coming up later in today's episode. Big Dave, my man, it's been a while. I hope you enjoyed your 4th of July weekend. You look like you're in a groove right now. How are you doing, buddy? How was the holiday?
I'm beautiful, man, but when don't I look like this? Like, it's just what I am, you know.
You always look like the happiest human on the planet.
You know, when you got joy, Matt, they can take happiness, but they can't take joy. And I was born with joy, so
that's why we work so well together. I drag you down into the muck.
That's right, but I try to pick you up out of the muck. So it's just a push and a pull going on with me and Matt. It's just a bunch of this, and we're getting in shape because of it. So we go get swole up. Because we keep pulling and pushing each other down.
I am definitely out of shape. I tweaked my back throwing my niece around the lake today. So,
today, right? But you're still gonna do it though.
Of course. She said, "More, Uncle Matt, more." I said, "Okay,
okay, all right." Do you have some Advil on hand? Something?
Oh yeah, popping them like Tic Tacs.
Oh man, you are the most 65-year-old, 30-year-old I've ever met. You're awesome.
Hey. 34, all right? I'm getting old.
Right. But it was cool. The 4th was cool. I didn't do anything, like I told you. It's my favorite thing to do. It's nothing. Right. The fireworks were actually not that bad. They actually stopped at a decent hour, which I was like, okay. You know, there still was some popping going on, you know, probably like 2 in the morning, still maybe just 1 or 2. But it didn't go on all weekend. Like, it went on a little bit the next day, and then that was it. And then we were fine. And then, moved on. So, it was cool. It was fine. I did nothing. I had a few adult beverages and ate some food, and it was quick. I was chilling.
That sounds perfect, man. Sounds absolutely perfect. All right, so we got some stuff to talk about today. We obviously are going to do a little bit of NBA Finals preview talk. After that, there is a lot of drama going on in the world of NBA media, because we are technically also NBA media. We're going to talk about it because it's something that everybody's talking about right now. And then we'll wrap up with a quick look at the accomplishments of one Tomas Satoransky for his national team in their Olympic qualifying games, and looking ahead to Zach LaVine and his USA Olympic tenure as well. Olympics are right around the corner. So with that, let us start off with this, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Rewind to the beginning of the 2021 NBA season. Mm-hmm. If somebody told you Bucks Suns NBA Finals, would you think they were crazy?
No, I wouldn't think they were crazy. I wouldn't have agreed with them, but I wouldn't think that they were crazy because the Bucks are really good and Phoenix is really good. Like I wouldn't call them crazy, not at all.
Nobody knew that Phoenix was going to be this good, though. I mean, people saw what Chris Paul could do coming in and leading a young Oklahoma City team 2 seasons ago, and everybody thought that team was going to be trash, and they wind up being respectably whatever it was, a 4th or a 5th seed in the Western Conference.
Right.
And so you thought maybe combining CP3's leadership and the fact that he's still pretty darn good as a point guard at age, 39 or however the hell old he is at this point, coupled with the young talents of Booker and Ayton, that they might have something. But, better than the Lakers, better than the Clippers, probably not. Better than Utah, better than Denver. And, obviously injuries have been a story all season long, and the Suns have benefited from that in some degree. throughout their entire run. You know, they didn't have to deal with Kawhi Leonard. They didn't have to deal with Jamal Murray. Those certainly helped their cause. But nonetheless, here they are. And then meanwhile, like Milwaukee, would you have picked them over Brooklyn? Would you have picked them over Philly? Because I mean, assuming that they were all healthy and good to go, I had Brooklyn coming out of the East.
Yeah,
it's like,
me too.
Don't overthink it. The team that has Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving on it will probably be going to the finals in the Eastern Conference. But
yeah.
I don't know about you. I am stoked to watch this series, which, by the way, tips off later tonight, game 1. Giannis has been upgraded from doubtful to questionable. Looks like it's going to be a game time decision after that hyperextended knee back in the Eastern Conference Finals. Obviously, you want Giannis because you want this series to be as talented and entertaining as possible. With or without Giannis, how do you see this series going down, Big Dave? Do you see it as the same either way? The Bucks are favored or the Suns are favored? Or does it change, in your opinion, based on whether or not Giannis is a factor? Because I've heard some people say, I'm taking the Suns regardless of whether or not Giannis is there. I've heard some people say, I'm taking the Bucks regardless of whether or not Giannis is there. What about you?
It's definitely what you call a pick'em series. I don't think anybody just overpowers either team as far as a prediction is concerned. You're like, oh yeah, they're out of here in 5, or they're out of here in 4, or I don't think it's one of those kind of series when you look at it on paper. I think it definitely matters when the 2-time MVP and Defensive Player of the Year is not going to be on the floor. Yeah, I don't care how good you look, okay? Without him, you lose that, you're going to have problems. Like, that's an issue. He has to be out there on the floor. I personally don't expect him to be out there tonight. And honestly, I don't think he'll be out there game 2 either. I think he showed back up in game 3 or game 4. So that's why I think it's crucial that the Bucks get one of these games in game 1 and game 2, because I think that would determine how much longer he'll be able to rest and how much longer he'll be out. That's why it was crucial that they won in 6 games instead of going to game 7. Like, all that was very important to his health and going forward, into these NBA finals. With all that said, Matt, I expect Giannis to be out there. So because of that, I'm going Bucks in 6. And I thought about this a lot. And it's a great story for Phoenix, to be where they are. And even though they were the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, like you just stated earlier, nobody was really expecting them to come out of the Western Conference just because of how deep they are and the superstars that they were going to have to run into. Didn't turn out that way. Injuries happen, especially during this shortened, condensed season like that. But here's the big thing for me, Matt. I think Milwaukee has an answer for everything Phoenix wants to do. And especially on the defensive end, where Milwaukee is just excellent on the defensive end. And Phoenix was very good too, this season also. But Milwaukee, Matt, they have something for everything. I could put Drew Holiday on Chris Paul. I can do that. I could put PJ Tucker on Devin Booker. And I can switch that off with Drew Holiday. He can play either one of those guys and cheat that way. We saw Devin Booker struggle with Patrick Beverly. I was like, you're going to really struggle here with this team, all right? Ayton has to go up against a real center. He's got to go up against Lopez. Yeah. That's a real center right there. And Lopez shoots 3. No center likes to step out and guard 3. So that's going to be an issue as well. There's no answer for Giannis. Let's just state that. There's no answer for Giannis at all offensively or on the defensive end, because he's a problem either way it goes. So I think with all that said, and using the rule that my boy Chris, who I do Ball on Bulls with, one of his rules is your best player cannot be 6 feet tall. If your best player is 6 feet tall, you're not going to win. Now, the only exception to that is Isaiah Thomas. But for me, I believe that's a good rule going into this series right here, man. So unless we get just otherworldly performance from Chris Paul, I think the Bucks take this in 6, man.
Wow. That is interesting. We are on opposite sides of the fence there.
Ooh, excellent.
The wild card in this series to me, or maybe the X factor, if you will, is a guy who has been repeatedly questioned over the last several years as the head coach of one of the best teams in the league with one of the best players in the league, who have repeatedly fallen short in the playoffs, and that's Mike Budenholzer. Because even in this Bucks playoff run, where they finally get to the NBA Finals, they finally get out of the East, and yes, they got a little bit of help, like Phoenix did, as far as opponents dealing with injuries. Budenholzer makes some very interesting choices at times, and then he also, I think, makes a absence of decisions at times, or a lack of adjustment at times. As much as I hate to say it, and you're right in that Milwaukee can do a lot of solid things defensively, and they've been one of the best defensive teams in the league for several years. They also, all the switching that they do, it can work. Maybe you might see them even playing some zone at times. I just have this feeling that Chris Paul is going to pick them apart in the pick and roll. Especially if Giannis is not a part of this defensive strategy for Milwaukee, at least for the first couple of games in Phoenix, and Phoenix is able to take a 2-0 lead in this series. I mean, Brook Lopez, yeah, he can guard Ayton, but can he defend in the pick and roll? No, I don't think he can. I think that CP3 and the way that he uses his mid-range excellence will be a problem for Milwaukee. And you know that that's coming from someone who hates Chris Paul, hates him with the passion of 1,000 burning suns. But I respect how dominant he is, and I respect his basketball IQ more than I respect Mike Budenholzer's ability to adapt to what Chris Paul is doing on a basketball court. So
yeah, Matt, that's great. And you know what? That's an excellent point, because that's the only other person that I have a problem with is the coach, Budenholzer. I wanted him fired last year. He was getting on my nerves. He bothered me to no end. He bothered me in the Nets series when he went an entire game and Kevin Durant was not guarded by Giannis the entire game. How do you not do that? It makes no sense to me. Yeah,
but Giannis was out there chucking a bunch of threes. So like
he was airballing them. Here? Oh man. And Monty Williams is clearly a better coach. And it's just what it is. And you're right. That pick and roll they're going to run, Lopez is going to get eaten alive by Chris Paul. Like, it's fact. Like, that's what it's going to be. That's what's going to happen. The issue, like I said, though, man, like the issue for me is on the other end, they have an answer for every single thing they want to do. There's no hole, really, for them. And Chris Middleton, when he gets going, is monstrous. Our guy, Bobby Portis, coming off the bench, man. I mean, balling out. He is going to be awesome, especially when they're at home, when they're chanting his name like that. He is going to be a problem, okay? Bobby Portis is going to be an issue. So I think I kind of have to take that into consideration. And also I'm going to take experience also with this, Matt, because we've seen this Bucks team get to that, be picked to go to a finals and just hit that wall every single time. First round out of here, second round out of here, conference finals out of here. Like, and then we started questioning Giannis. Is the Greek Freak ever going to do it? Well, once the team kind of like that knocks down that door after doing, knocks down that wall after going through all that trial and tribulation, they usually, don't stop. They usually keep going and keep going and keep moving like that. So I see the Bucks doing it, man. But your points are super valid.
Yeah, you also mentioned to me the other big X factor in this series, and that's Chris Middleton. Because when we saw the Bucks close out Atlanta, it was because in Giannis's absence, all of their not quite stars stepped up. Middleton had a huge game. Drew Holiday had a huge game. Brook Lopez looked like 2013 Brook Lopez and put up a 30-point monster performance. If they can get those kind of games, at least one or two of those guys, it doesn't have to be all of those three and Bobby putting up 20-plus points. Right. They can get by with one or two of those guys giving those caliber performances if Giannis is out there doing his thing. But if Giannis is not out there, they need all of those guys to play as well as they did in that clinching Game 6. And we haven't quite seen any of those guys be that consistent this season. So, but Middleton's the big one. He is the Robin. And sometimes if Giannis isn't out there, he needs to be the Batman. And Middleton, it's so hot and cold with that dude. Sometimes you're like, wow, this guy might be one of the 15 best players in the league. And then some nights you're like, dude, where the hell are you? So
great point.
We'll see.
I want to add one more quick thing to it. Hunger. Because this Phoenix team is super young. They haven't gone through it as much as Chris Paul has. This Bucks team is not. They've been through it and failed a lot. They're hungry, man. They know that this might be it for them, whereas Phoenix it might not be.
That's true. You know who else is really hungry is freaking Chris Paul. That's
starving. Look, starving.
16th season, and he finally cracks through to the NBA Finals for the first time in his career. Speaking of which, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Michelob Ultra Player of the Week. I hate to do it, but I have to give it to Chris Paul. A long time coming
Proud of you.
For clearly a future first ballot Hall of Famer in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
No question.
Arguably a top 10 point guard of all time. Some people might even put him higher than that. Some people might flirt with him in the top 5 point guards of all time, including my man Big Dave right here. The ways in which he has led his previous 2 teams has just, I think, put a more emphatic stamp on just how damn good this guy is. And the fact you were saying earlier, you can't win a championship with your best player being 6 feet tall. What about your best player being 6 feet tall and 37 years old? I mean, truly impressive stuff. Clearly, Chris Paul was enjoying the moment and feeling himself when they clinched the Western Conference title and clinched their ticket to the finals. Speaking of enjoyment and happiness, why don't you crack yourself a Michelob Ultra while you're watching Game 1 of the finals tonight? It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. Joy creates success. Enjoyment isn't the end game. It's the whole game. So shout out to Chris Paul, our Michelob Ultra Player of the Week. Let's see if he can lead his Suns to victory in Game 1. Grab yourself some Michelob Ultra. Sit back, enjoy the Chris Paul show in Game 1 tonight. All right, Big Dave, shifting gears here from the NBA Finals to the people covering the NBA Finals. Over the weekend, we got a report from the New York Times that was basically the story of a long-building rift between 2 of ESPN NBA's biggest names, that of Maria Taylor, who also does football coverage for the network, and Rachel Nichols, longtime host of The Jump on ESPN, their premier NBA show that's daily afternoons, and of course also a sideline reporter for the NBA. Interesting, basically like leaked audio footage of Rachel Nichols having a conversation with a rep from LeBron James's inner circle, talking about Maria Taylor essentially kind of encroaching on her turf of responsibilities covering the NBA for ESPN. And there were remarks being made by her and the person she was having conversation with as far as, you know, I know the struggle because as a female at ESPN, I've dealt with it. I feel for Maria Taylor and all she's had to get through, but I don't necessarily want her and her being given these opportunities by ESPN, who are trying to make up for their appalling lack of diversity, to come at my cost, because I've worked hard for mine too, and damn it, I want this job. It goes everywhere. Everybody's talking about it, and people talking about perhaps some of the, you know, the racial undertones that exist in this debate between a white woman ESPN reporter and a black woman ESPN reporter. Everybody has had to take on this over the last 48 hours or so. Rachel Nichols has already come out on, you know, ESPN's airwaves and made a public apology. What do you make of all of this? Because there are a lot of moving parts here.
A lot of them, a lot of moving parts. Let me first say this. Let me start this positively. Maria Taylor is incredible. Okay. I still remember when I first saw her doing college football and doing sideline reporting for that. And I was like, man, she's good. Like, I kept saying that, man, she's good. And I would have talks with Chris about her. She would just come up randomly. Like, man, dude, that Maria Taylor, she's nice. Like, she's really good. So when we would see her elevate, you know, and starting doing the NBA, it felt natural. Like, yeah, you know, she can do that. She's excellent at it. And you've seen it. You know what I mean? Like, every day, every time. She's awesome. Okay. She just seems like she reminds me of Shanowski, as how it's somebody who I've never seen get rattled. You know, always just smooth and right there, man. She's amazing. She really is. I was thinking about this, man, because I was listening to what Rachel Nichols said. And I want to say the quote right because I don't want to misquote it. When she was on the phone talking to the rep, this is the part that got me. If you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy long-time record on diversity, which, by the way, I know personally from the female side of it, like, go for it. Just find it somewhere else. You're not going to find it from me or taking my thing away from me. Here's the thing. I understood it completely where she was coming from. I got it. You know, I worked hard for mine. You know, I don't want somebody stepping in on my territory, you know, taking my thing, you know, because this is mine. I know what I went through to get here. Everybody gets that. Everybody understands that, right? This is where you lost them. When you started suggesting about diversity hires, that's where you lose it right there. And that's where the problem is right there, where people are like, okay, now you're tripping. Because you didn't say it, but it was just the mere implication and the mere suggestion of it. And it made me think about something that happened with me, Matt. It made me think about something. I remember when I had a job and I was there and I was like top 3 salesperson at this job. It wasn't a sales job, but it had sales included in it. I was a top 3 salesperson in there. I was awesome. Everybody, you know, liked me, you know, it's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like it was great. Obviously. I enjoyed it. Obviously. When it came time, when the company was shutting that branch down, they started doing interviews with everybody, all the employees, asking them what they wanted to do, where they wanted to be, because they were also promoting people at the same time. When they asked me what I wanted to do, I said, well, obviously, I think I should be up for the promotion. You know, I should be up for one of the head jobs that you guys are doing. I think I should be up for that or in training for one of those management positions. They were like, no, we're not doing that. Immediately told me no. The people I saw get promoted over me weren't as good as me, definitely weren't as smart as me, and they weren't on point. They weren't to the task, but they definitely fit a color. Okay. Now in that room I was in, Matt, I was the most educated person in that room. The most educated person in that room. And they still were like, nah, we think you'd be better served staying exactly in the same place that you are. I quit that day. I walked out. I was like, I'm done. I quit that. I was like, well, there's no reason for me to stay here. You obviously don't value it. So, you know, I'm out. What am I wasting my time here for? That's the stuff that brought it up to me when she just implied it would be on diversity. Because Maria Taylor is incredible. Like nothing she gets for me in my feelings would be any implication that has to do with diversity or anything like that. I just thought it was because she's awesome and she's really good at it. So I know Rachel Nichols didn't say it, but it was the mere implication of it that kind of threw everything into a tizzy. And now you see the rain and thunder that's coming down on her. And,
you know, I totally appreciate all of that perspective that you just lent to this situation. And obviously it's kind of a difficult thing to talk about. It's less difficult for me to talk about because I am in the camp of people who have been given every opportunity since the dawn of time in sports media, in that I am white and I am a man. Like, but you're also good, man. Like, I don't want to just toss that out there. You're good, okay? Let's not just say it. You're not just regular white men sitting in your position, man. You're actually good. Well, I appreciate that, buddy, but that's not why, you know, I wasn't fishing for a compliment there. But I'm just saying, like, you know, how many times versus, oh, well, we have to ask the question, is this a diversity hire? Is this a gift diversity hire versus, no, is this the most qualified person for the job? Flipping that on its head and saying, how many times has a white man gotten a job in sports media or in anything in this country, not because of his qualifications for the job, but because he was a white man and that he was the de facto default hire compared to a field of candidates, quality candidates who were minorities, women, whatever it may be. Because the other things that I've just like popped into my head is, I agree with you. I think Maria Taylor is great at her job. She was a name that was circulating not just in national sports media for a story kind of similar to this a year ago, but Chicago specific. If you recall, there was a longtime Chicago sports talk radio host who had a tweet that was horribly insulting, when Maria Taylor, there was a picture of her doing sideline reporting from a football game. And I'm going to go out and say his name. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. Dan McNeil, longtime 670 talk show host, made a derogatory, horrible, insulting, demeaning comment and said something along the lines of sideline reporter or host at the acronym awards show. And all of us who aren't perverts had to look up what that was. And it was like the Adult Film Industry Awards or whatever. So he basically said that her sideline reporting outfit made her look like a porn star. Mm-hmm. And he deleted the tweet and he apologized. But rightly, it was like, in my opinion, at least 2 strikes, 3 strikes. He had many strikes in his past. You're out. 670 fires him. And I was like, yeah, that's the right call. Because that is an old white man privileged to have this job that he's had for years, who, in my opinion, was slacking. He was falling. McNeil would occasionally show up at that job. When he did show up, I thought he had nothing important or interesting or insightful to say anymore in the world of Chicago sports and Chicago sports talk. I thought that dude was cooked. And he's insulting this up-and-coming star who is young, who is black, and who is female. And, like, it just boggles my mind that there are some people who took Dan McNeil's side in that. It's like, no. It's baffling to me. At the same time, it just reminds us how far we still have to go. Not just for the Maria Taylors of the world, but as a collective of people who cover sports and people who are fans of sports to appreciate who is good at their job and who should get certain opportunities. Because I think there are a lot. Dan McNeil is one example. There are plenty of people who work in Chicago sports media and people who work in bigger roles covering this country's professional sports, collegiate sports on a national scale, national networks, who are white men who I think are awful at their jobs. Awful. Why do they have those jobs?
Don't know. But I will, and also I want to send a shout out to Malika Andrews also, because her name came up in this.
Yes.
She's another one that is like, dude, you were just way too good at this. Like, you were just too good for this. And she's now getting her opportunity, and she'll be doing the sideline reporting for the finals because they removed Rachel Nichols from there, and then they just took Rachel Nichols off of all the finals coverage and everything. So now it's strictly just be the jump with her for now. So yeah, but Malika Andrews, again, she deserves that. Like, she's earned that. She's worked hard to get to that point. That's all she did is put in that work. And that's why I don't like when that stuff is implied, because it's demeaning and it diminishes the work and the 10,000 hours that she had to put in, not only as a woman, but as a black woman. Okay? It's extra hard. Okay? It's hard. He's on top of it. All right? Like, it's extra hard. Okay? And extra difficult for her to get to those positions and where that she is and still be strong and still be standing up there and still got that smile on her face and still deliver every single time. It's difficult, extra difficult. So the fact that she's getting that love now is great. And she deserves every single thing, Malika Andrews and Maria Taylor, man. They're both just really good and incredible. And maybe that's the main thing about all of this, Matt. Both of them are really good and incredible. And it's like, wait a minute, but she's great. You know, like, she's really good at this. She deserves that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The longtime listeners of Locked On Bulls would probably remember Jordan and I had Malika Andrews on as a guest back when she was still with the Tribune, sort of supporting Casey in a beat writer position, covering the Chicago Bulls before she got hired by ESPN. We did that interview with her, and she hung up, and Jordan and I were doing our little, post-interview, chat, just the two of us. And I told Jordan, I was like, that chick's going to be a star. I was like, Malika, she is so, I mean, at the time, I think she was like in her early 20s. Like, she's significantly younger than us, and her career has taken off. But I remember saying to Jordan, I was like, Malika is going to be a star. She was so good, and she's only gotten better. So, I mean, kudos to her, too. Looking forward to her coverage of these NBA finals. And look, we'll see what happens from here. We'll see what happens as far as the fallout with Rachel Nichols, who, as I said, she hosts a daily TV talk show about the NBA. We'll see what happens. But this was just the latest example of saying, we're like, really a white person trying to play the race card of, well, no, that person shouldn't have that job just because they're a minority. Come on, people.
Come on, man.
Come on, people. No,
I didn't get here because of this.
Maria Taylor got the job because she's damn good. Big Dave got the Outsider's job because he was damn good, not because NBC said, let's throw some darker shades in there. Let's
get a diversity hire going on in there. Let's get that. How about it? No. And shout out to Kevin Anderson for always telling me that. And shout out to Mark Shanowski, who said that to me on my show to my face, and I'm never getting over it. Y'all can't talk to me ever again because Mark Shanowski told me I was dope. Y'all can't say nothing to me.
Shanowski said to Bulldog, our executive producer, I don't know, and I don't care who else you put in there, but you gotta cast Big Dave.
Dude, man. I'm talking about freak out.
As Bulldog said in our text thread the following day, Mark Shanowski wasn't wrong. We cast a couple of sarcastic idiot white boys on either side of it, but Big Dave, that's the guy.
And you know what, man? I have to say you're absolutely right because you used to say that, and I'd be like, dude, you're crazy. They ain't just say that. Like, you'd be like, no, I'm telling you, Dave. It was just like, okay, him, and then we'll put some people around him. And I didn't believe it at all. But it's just the fact Mark Shanowski said I'm good. That's all. I'm just taking that to forever. You can't tell me anything.
Always trust the word of the great Mark Shanowski.
Always.
All right. We've got a little bit more we want to talk about today, including Sato's Olympic performance. First, though, shout out to BetOnline, one of the sponsors of today's show. BetOnline.ag, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action. Get all the latest news, odds, and info for your sporting needs, including MLB, NBA, NHL, and even UFC and MMA fighting action. Before the next pitch, head over to BetOnline on your laptop or mobile device. Check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore. This is your chance to get into the game as we prep for the NBA Finals. Who are you going to take, Bucks or Suns? Put your money where your mouth is. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus with promo code LOCKEDON with your first deposit. So you sign up on BetOnline, throw $100 into your account. They'll give you an extra $50 to play with promo code LOCKEDON. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Today's episode is also brought to you by Big Dave's favorite people, RockAuto.com.
RockAuto.com. Yeah.
Beautiful. You're rivaling Stacey King with those silky pipes, baby.
Never.
Never as good as Stacey. But you can't save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more money for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Their prices are reliably low, as they always are for every single customer. They've got everything you could need: brake parts, tail lamp, motor oil, even new carpet. Whether it's for your classic car or your daily driver, get everything you need in a few easy clicks delivered directly to your door. So head to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Be sure to write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need, rockauto.com. All right, Big Dave. So as we learned over the weekend, Zach LaVine will not be the only Bulls representative in the upcoming Tokyo Olympics. Tomas Satoransky led his Czech Republic team to some big wins in their qualifying games over the weekend, while averaging 16, 5.5 assists, 5.5 rebounds in their 4 games, earning MVP honors for the Victoria, British Columbia qualifying tournament, which included a pretty big upset over the Canadian national team, who were heavy favorites going against the Czech squad. This will be their first appearance in the Olympics. This is a big deal for that Czech team led by Sato. He also, in that upset over Canada, hit in a game winner that banked in, like an epic shot. So obviously happy for Sato. They also drew Group A, which means that they will be playing against Iran, France, and our United States of America. So we're going to have Levine versus Sato in an Olympic game. How cool is that?
It's very cool because there are two bulls going against each other in the Olympics. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I can't even think of a time that's been what that has happened. And maybe it's happened and I just don't remember it, but the only thing coming to my head is Tony Kukoc when he played against the Dream Team.
Or Luol Deng probably had a couple of Olympic appearances, but would he have played against maybe Derek?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know.
Yeah.
We have to see. It's been a while, but it's good. This is all good stuff. Like, let's enjoy this right now, Bulls fans, before we get into the deep depression of the season that we're going to go through. I'm sure with a lot of you guys. But this is good because you got Sato, who for some reason, when he's international playing that, he is Steve Nash. Like, he is a whole nother human being, and everybody gets super excited about him. I remember when we first got him, he played internationally, and he was amazing. And I remember I would have people on. I remember I had my man Coach Palati on, and he was like, "Oh man, yeah, we're talking about how running that pick and roll with Lowry would be great, and all these things would be awesome because of the things we saw him do." And then he got here and said, "Oh, this is the NBA." Everything kind of just went away. But yeah, he's great internationally. Shout out to him for getting that MVP award, man. That's not a small feat. That's a big deal. So yeah, but this is good. This should be fun to watch when they play the U.S.
Yeah, so it was the summer of 2019. So the Bulls had, signed Sato, and it was the FIBA World Cup, right? In China. In that tourney, Sato averaged 15.5, 8.5 assists, and 5.6 rebounds, shooting 48% from downtown. So, like you, I remember watching that and being like, Sato's amazing. We stole this guy. And I think ever since then, I have always been on the Sato bandwagon, man. You and I have had our Sato versus Kobe debates over the last couple of years.
Classics.
And now it's like, okay, well, it'll be interesting and entertaining to see Sato and Zach square off in the Olympics. We'll see how far his Czech team can go. But then the other question that comes to mind is, Sato, there's a team option where partial guarantee on his contract. We've been talking about all of these avenues of, are the Bulls going to try and get a sign and trade for Dinwiddie? Are we going to just try and sign somebody, flat out in free agency? Are we going to try and get Lonzo away from the Pelicans? Are we going to try, to maybe get back into the draft and draft a point guard? Are we just going to give the keys back to Kobe White? And nobody has talked about, like, well, what's going on with Sato? Like, if anything, it's most people saying they could clear some cap space if they just pay him half of that guarantee and tell him to F off and say, thanks for the time. We don't need you anymore. What would you like to see happen? Would you rather the Bulls dismiss Sato, pay him his partial guarantee, and use that money elsewhere? Or do you think he could be a useful piece, not necessarily as a starter, but a useful piece to come back next season?
He can go. I'll be all right I'll be okay if he leaves and we take that money and we use it somewhere else. I don't see him for the long-term plans. If this was a team that we're talking about maybe making a deep playoff run or something like that, I'm like, yeah, it'd be good to have a veteran backup point guard on your team. That's a good thing to have. Those are luxuries. I'm not interested in luxuries right now. I'm not interested in rims on a car that doesn't run. So I'm more interested in getting just more talent on this team and acquiring more talent and getting better, especially at the most valuable position. The most valuable position is not backup point guard. It's starting point guard. So I need that. I need a starting point guard. So whatever I can do. Matter of fact, I sent out the tweet, man. As soon as they said he won the MVP, I sent a tweet out immediately and said, trade value increasing. I was like, yes, let's do it. Yeah, let's talk some teams. Let's talk some teams and get on the phone with some guys and see what we can get for this for young Sato right here. So yeah, I have no problem with they're gonna buy him and use that money to get better. I have no issue.
Yeah, I think I'm with you at this point. I mean,
come on.
I did truly believe most of when I was having those debates with you about Sato versus Kobe, I thought that his traits were better served paired with Zach, and that he was the more logical starter for a long time. Up until I came around at the back end of the 1920 season, right before the bubble shutdown, when Kobe got that first start, because we were like, our season is a dumpster fire. Kobe is the only thing the fans have right now to not hate our lives. Let the kid start. He's earned it. I certainly came around at that point. I think my love for Sato has kind of left me at this point. I think that he was a logical signing when it was made, because I think his skills addressed certain needs for the roster. But I'm with you in that he can go if AK and Eversley have cooler, better plans up their sleeves, and they need that money to do it. Especially if Kobe White's sticking around and they are going to go out and find some other point guard. You don't need Sato. True. Whoever that point guard is, maybe it's a mentor for Kobe. Maybe it's somebody who's not that much older than Kobe, and there's a competition for that spot in training camp. I'd be cool with either of those scenarios, but either of those scenarios do not require one Tomas Satoransky. So I'm disappointed in his Bulls tenure if this turns out to be it. Because I saw what he did taking over the starting job in Washington and was actually pretty impressed by it. Between that and his FIBA World Cup performance, I was like, okay, I'm cool with this. But now, fast forward to today, and I'm like, yeah, Tomas, it's cool. It's cool, man. Thanks.
Thanks, okay, great. Thanks for showing up.
Speaking of my whiteness and Tomas's whiteness, I actually saw him at a Too Many Zoos concert in Chicago, like maybe a few weeks before the pandemic shut everything down.
Oh yeah, I remember you said that.
And I thought about going up to him and being like, "Hey, man, you ever see promos or for that Outsider show, or remember when we had like maybe a 90-second conversation at Bulls Media Day?" Yeah, I'm one of those Outsiders guys. I'm that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to bother him. He was like, he was there with his lady, and they were having a good time, and they were like, whispering into each other's ears. And I was like, no, this isn't the time. This isn't the time to bother Sato about my thoughts on him in the starting lineup. So I'm just going to let this moment pass.
That's the problem, man. You immediately are going to start talking basketball. That's the problem. Like, you won't be like, hey, man, you like Too Many Zoos also? Like, you like this band? Oh, yeah, what's your favorite album? No, you're like, so how are you in the pick and roll this year? You working on anything? Or how's it going? Like, man.
I wasn't going to say, like, hey, what's your favorite Too Many Zoos song? Right. I was going to be like, hey, maybe, like, shoot another three. Like, just shoot, man. Just shoot. When you're open, shoot. And he's going to be like, get the hell away from me.
I can see that. I talked to him at the Bulls Outside the Media Day thing. And I told him, I was like, hey, man, I saw you on a show in your home country, like a late night David Letterman show in your home country and everything like that. And he was like, he looked at, he said, wait, what? He was like, what was that one? And I said, well, honestly, Sato, I don't speak the language, man. I can't quote to you exactly what this dude was. I'm just saying, I saw you there, and then they brought out a rim, and you played basketball. And he was like, oh, yeah. He's like, oh, I remember that. He was like, oh, man, I was so tired that day. He was like, man, I didn't even know they were bringing the rim out so I could shoot. I was like, what is going on? And he was like, but yeah, that guy's huge over there. And he's like, he's colossal. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's nice. That's the conversation you have, Matt. Not talking about his assistant coaches and his player development at a concert. That's the conversation you have.
Maybe I also would have snuck in. So what do you think about Jim?
Yes, you would. Yes, you would. Yes, you would.
Pull out my phone at the Too Many Zoos concert. Per source, Tomas Satoransky thinks that Jim Boylan is a gigantic dipshit.
I love Tomas Satoransky. Sin.
Oh, lordy.
Yes, that's how it would have happened.
Well, good luck to Sato in the Olympics, but not as much good luck as we are sending to our boy Zach LaVine. Also, did you see some of these USA games for the group stage, Zach, as far as Big Dave, as far as the time of day?
I didn't see it.
Because they have like a 7 a.m. tip-off Central Time, and then I think a 1 a.m. 11 p.m. Central Time tip-off, and then another 7 a.m. Central Time tip-off. Because it's in Tokyo, and they're like, well, whatever. We don't care about giving the Americans their team at a normal hour.
Right.
So dedicated Hoopers and Hooper fans will be either getting up real early or staying up real late. And I certainly will be one of them because I have no life.
But you're used to that. You're a soccer fan. You're used to that.
It's true. Speaking of which, I pre-recorded it, but Italy versus Spain semifinal of Euro Cup just kicked off a half hour ago. So we got to wrap up this pod so I can post it and I can go watch me some soccer.
All right.
You got to get on the soccer bandwagon, Dave. You got to.
You got to get me there, Matt. You got to get me there.
One of these
I'll
days,
try
baby.
it. One of these days. I'm down.
Thanks, as always, for listening, everybody. I hope you all had a safe and happy 4th of July weekend and holiday. As a reminder, anything Bulls or NBA or basketball related, whatever's on your mind, hit us up on that text and voicemail line. We'll do a mailbag episode later this week. 331-979-1369 is that number. And you could always interact with us on Twitter as well. I'm at Bulls_Peck. Big Dave is at BAWL Sports. Thanks to our sponsors for today's show, Michelob Ultra and BetOnline and RockAuto.com. For Big Dave, I am Matt. Have a wonderful day, Bulls Nation. We'll be back tomorrow with yet another episode of Locked On Bulls. See red, be good. Peace out.